Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is set. Let's look at a few definitions. The first way this verb might be used is to mean to put, lay, or stand something in a specified place or position. Another way you might hear this verb used is to mean to establish an example for others to follow or to establish a record. Another meaning for set is to pass below the horizon or sink. You might think about this as the time of day that the sun sets. A fourth meaning for set is to adjust a clock or watch to show the correct time. Now, these are not the only meanings for this verb set, but I think they are some of the more common ones you might hear or see when you're reading. You're always welcome to look up additional definitions using a dictionary, whether it's a paper dictionary or it's online. Set is an irregular verb. To make the progressive form, we need to add an extra T before we add ing. And the reason we're doing that is that this verb ends with a consonant, vowel, consonant, and that's our rule in English, that we double the last letter. The past tense and participle forms of this verb are exactly the same as the present tense, or the base form of this verb, set. So the way you're going to know that this is being used in different verb tenses is from the context clues that might be indicating something in the future, like tomorrow, or something in the past, like last week. There are many, many different phrasal verbs that go with this verb set. I've tried to pick out a handful that I think are more common, but again, this is not a full and complete list. So one phrasal verb you might hear or read in a story is set about, and it means to initiate or begin some type of action. Here it is in a sentence. He set about designing his new office. Really, this phrase is another way to say start or begin. Another phrasal verb you might hear is set aside. Its meaning is to separate and reserve something for a specific purpose. Here it is in a sentence. The recipe says that we should set aside the egg yolks. So, perhaps in the first part of the recipe, we're just using the egg whites, but they don't want us to throw away the egg yolks, so we're waiting to do something else with them in the future. Another phrasal verb you might hear is to set something back or set someone back, and its meaning is to delay or to obstruct something. Here it is in an example sentence. I expect it will set us back by a day or so, but I think a side trip will be worthwhile. So in this example sentence, maybe someone's planning a trip and says, well, what if we take a day to go off our set plan just a little bit? And so it's going to delay them from getting to their ultimate destination. Another phrasal verb you might hear is set off. It could mean that something has been caused to explode. So here it is in a sentence. Someone set off a bomb at the crowded festival. Finally, the last phrasal verb we're going to look at is set up. This can have a few different meanings. We're going to look at two of them today. The first meaning for set up is to ready something for use. Here it is in a sentence. I arrive at school by 8 o'clock so that I can set up for class. Another way you might hear set up used, though, is to mean to gel or harden. Here it is in a sentence. The cement will set up in 24 hours, so do not walk on it during that time. Let's continue practicing using this verb set in a few different verb tenses. Today, we'll look at the imperative. We'll also practice the simple past and present progressive. If you remember, imperative is a command. This is language that might be used from parent to child, from teacher to student, perhaps from boss to employee. And there's something kind of unique about it. There is no subject in either affirmative or negative imperative sentences. The subject is implied. It can be you, singular, just one you, or it could be you, plural. So perhaps a teacher talking to a class full of students. So we're commanding someone to do something. We can always soften that, make it more polite by putting the word please at the beginning of the sentence or at the end of the sentence, but you don't need it in both places. Okay? Let's look at an affirmative example. Set the clock to 1 p.m. Okay? So that connects back to an earlier definition or meaning for this verb set. If we want to make the negative with the imperative, we're going to use don't and then the base verb. Please don't set your glass on the edge of the table. Okay, that goes back to that first meaning with set, putting something or placing something in a particular location. Okay? There is no question form of the imperative, so we're going to skip that. Let's look at simple past tense next. Again, you'll remember this verb spelling doesn't change. So the way I will know that this is past tense is from the context clues. And in the simple past tense, our form of our verb isn't going to change based on the subject. So if it's singular, if it's plural, if it's I, it's they, doesn't matter. It's going to be the same form of the verb. Here's an example. The sun set at 8:20 p.m. yesterday. If we want to make negative in the simple past tense, we're going to use did not or the contraction didn't, and then our base verb. Here's an example. I didn't set aside enough money to travel to the wedding. If we want to make a yes or no question in the simple past tense, we're going to start with did, then we'll have our subject, and then the base verb. Did the swimmer set a world record last year? Finally, let's look at present progressive. Here, we're describing an action that is currently in progress, or we're starting or describing something that's happening right now as we're speaking or as we're writing. To make the present progressive, we're going to use the present form of be. That could be am, is, or are. And then we'll use that ing form of the verb. Here's an example. The dessert is setting up in the refrigerator. There's that phrasal verb set up. This might be the idea of gelling or hardening. This could be something like the treat Jell-O. It has to set up. To make the negative, what we're going to do is insert not after our be verb. And it's fine to use a contraction isn't or aren't, but there is no contraction with am. Okay? Here's an example of that. The closures aren't setting our work back. Okay. Let's look at a yes or no question in the present progressive now. To make that type of question, we're going to start with be, then we'll have our subject, and then the ing form of the verb. Here's a question. Are you setting up for the party? That's asking about right now. Finally today, let's look at a few words that are related to our verb of the day, set. The first related word is just the noun form of this word. It's the same spelling, same pronunciation. It could mean a collection of articles designed for use together. So sometimes you'll hear a jewelry set. So if the earrings and the necklace sort of match or go together, that could be one example. Here's another example in this sentence. His grandfather gave him the chess set. Another related verb you might hear is reset. This is a verb. You might recognize that prefix re telling us again, and that connects to our definition here. To set again or to set differently. Here it is in a sentence. You should reset your phone before selling or recycling it. Reset is a really common word with technology. Things you might need to do could be with TVs, cell phones, computers, just the way the technology works. Another word that you might hear is the compound word sunset. It's a noun, and it's the time in the evening when the sun disappears or daylight fades. Here it is in a sentence. Last night's sunset was beautiful. The last thing I'm going to leave you with today is an idiom, and it's all set. And sometimes that all by itself could be a question. Someone asks you, all set? And kind of their voice goes up at the end so you know it's a question. And really what it's meaning or asking in that case is, are you ready? Are you prepared? So here it is in a sentence. Is everything all set for the barbecue? So just another way to express, are you ready? Are you prepared? Thanks so much for watching today's video. Have a great day.